trekking poles. So I have non-collapsible poles, and at the end of the day, I'm actually happy that I bought additional collapsible poles, only because there's going to be some days, like if you're going to the fixed lines, you're going to have one trekking pole in one hand, you're going to have an ice axe in the other hand, you're going to get up to the fixed lines, and then you're going to stow all of that because you're going to start climbing on the fixed lines. I am just a proponent of having as least amount of things on the outside of your pack as possible, because with all the ropes and everything, the last thing you want to do is have just something random like this getting caught on something. So I just stowed this actually in my bag, and that way I didn't have to worry about it. So you can get away with long trekking poles, like not non-collapsible, but I just think it's worth it. You can throw it in the bag and not worry about it, rather than have an entire trekking pole hanging on the side of your bag. So, but hey, that's just a shooter's preference. But yeah, collapsible trekking poles are really clutch. All right, camp booties. These might have been one of the most important and definitely morale boosting things out of everything here. So I just have these are North Face camp booties. I got them, I'm pretty sure I got these on Amazon. The only thing I don't like about them is how low they are. So with Denali, there's gonna be a ton of snow, a ton of ice. If you're like going out to shovel one day on a rest day, or if it's like dumping a lot of snow, the last thing you want is to be out there and get snow inside your camp booty. The other type of booty that I've seen was Feathered Friends makes one. It's actually a high top, which is actually pretty nice, but it doesn't have this grippy bottom, so it's a lot more floppy. I don't know which one I would actually recommend. I wore that one day. It was okay, but I think this provides a little bit better insulation if you're just like sitting there, like your feet don't get as cold as the Feathered Friends ones, but the Feathered Friends go higher. So I don't know, you can't go wrong with this one. This is a great one. At the end of the day, it kept me relatively warm, but that's just the one downfall is, it's not super high. So if North Face makes one that's higher, I would definitely go with that. So. Okay, I'll cover food at the very end. So I took a GoPro 360. I bought the Enduro batteries, which are the batteries for the cold. You just got to keep in mind, like, yeah, they work better at lower altitudes, but once you get like 14,000 feet and above, even the cold Enduro batteries are gonna die pretty damn fast. So if I had a battery that had 100%, I probably got 3 to 4 videos out of it, and then it would die if I was at like 17,000 feet or something. So everything dies in the cold. You just got to realize that. Okay, this is a big topic that I kind of want to really focus on: water. So minimum, you're going to be moving with 2 liters of water on you at all times. So you're going to have 2 1-liters on you at all times. You also need pouches to delay the eventual freezing of your water bottles. Now, there's 2 typical types that people buy. This is the one on Amazon. This is Nalgene's brand of insulator, and then also 40 Below makes one as well. Somebody on my trip actually said that they did an experiment prior to the trip. They took one of these, and then they took one of the 40 Below bottles and filled them both up, put them in the freezer, and timed it. And they said that this one lasted 10% longer before freezing. So I wasn't there for it, but I trust them. So, according to them, they said this is better. But anyways, I had these. These were great. I've used others on a bunch of mountains. At the end of the day, if you're above 17,000 feet, it doesn't matter what you have, it's going to slowly freeze. So everything that you have needs to, go in your sleeping bag, and you need to sleep with it. Otherwise, it's going to freeze at night. Continuing on that water topic. So I think this is like 30 or 40 ounces of water. A lot of people will have a small thermos, not as big as this. I would recommend a bigger one like this, because what happened was one day, one of my water bottles froze in the night. I think I forgot to throw it in my sleeping bag. So I woke up in the morning, we had like a 6 or 7 hour movement, and I had a frozen water bottle, so I didn't have, I was down 1 liter. Because of that, I was super lucky that I had this guy to compliment me, so I was still able to move with 2 liters of water. Otherwise, I would have been moving, with 1 liter and a tiny little thermos, and I would have been, a lot more dehydrated at the end of the day. So I think you want to give yourself, additional capacity for water in the event that something happens. So that's just a planning consideration. I also drink a lot of water though, but at the end of the day, if you were dehydrated in the mountains, especially up that high, like you are quickly going to pay for it. So you never want to get dehydrated. And then pee bottle. So I just used an additional, a red 1 liter. So didn't actually use it a lot. Like you shouldn't be. Hopefully you should not be peeing at night. You should kind of figure out you got to figure out your body at what it's doing at altitude. So that way you're not waking up in the middle of the night and having to pee, because your sleep already is going to be very poor. The last thing you want to do is cut your sleep in half in the middle of the night. Have to put on clothes, go out, or not put on, but wake up, basically pee, and then try to go back to bed. So, try to figure out some type of system where you get into camp, you chug as much water as you possibly can, you chug a bunch of water at dinner, and then you trail off for the rest of the night. So by the time you go to sleep, you don't have to pee, you don't have to wake up or any of that. But you do need one of these, you might use it a couple times. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, I'll cover food at the very end, but I will touch on this. So Gatorade. When you stop at breaks, you're gonna snack. So every time of movement, you're gonna stop like 1 hour. You want some type of electrolyte, beverage. So I chose Gatorade because it's easy and cheaper, but people use all different things. Element, they use Emergency. You want just some additional things to complement, your diet on the mountain. You're also probably not going to get a lot of salt on the mountain, so this is just like one way to get some additional, electrolytes in. But you want something like this, and I always drank this while I was actually moving, like doing labor. Okay, I will start. I'll just start in the bottoms because I'm basically right here right now. So on the lower glacier, these are just Defend pair, but I just had a short pair of spandex that I moved on the lower mountain. It's going to be hot, and also you're going to be exerting a lot of energy, and this goes through the whole trip. You're going to be moving, dragging a sled, or have a heavy pack on, so your legs are going to be relatively warm. So I really actually never had issues with my legs actually being cold, other than summit day. So at the lower mountain, for the first, up until 14,000, this is what I wore as my base layer. I actually took 2 pairs of spandex. I think that was overkill. You only need 1 pair, and you're just going to live in these up until 14,000. I also took a pair of level 1 silks. I put these on if I was just lounging in camp and I didn't want to put something super, super heavy on, but I wanted to be a little bit more warm. Or there were days where, like when we were moving from 11,000 to 14, around Windy Corner, I knew it was going to be cold. I would be wearing these. And then I would have my climbing pant on, which typically, you're going to have your climbing pant on pretty much the whole mountain, or almost the whole mountain. And then I wore this as just a teeny bit, little more insulation. So you can honestly leave this back though, but it was, it doesn't weigh a lot, takes up a little bit of space. So I took it because it's, just one extra thing that, I can use to insulate. And then above 14,000 and up, I had a pair of Under Armour leggings. So, this was my base layer at 14 and on up. So that was that. I actually took 2 pairs of climbing pants. These are an Outdoor Research pair of climbing pants, and then I took a Black Diamond set of climbing pants as well. The Black Diamond ones were a lot more thin. These are thicker. They have reinforced knees and reinforced back. I would say with climbing pants, I think you only need 1. I wore these every single day of the trip. I didn't need to change out. You're going to be, at the end of the day, you're going to be discussing and moving all day. Who cares about changing? There's just no reason to. And then when it comes to the pants, the reason I chose these over the Black Diamond is these are just a little bit more heavy duty. You just, unless you have shells on or something else, this is going to be your outermost layer of pants. And if you're getting blasted with wind, you just want some type of pant that has just a little bit more wind resistance than normal. So these were great. All right, Gore-Tex not leggings, but Gore-Tex shells. So I got these REI. These are just REI. You either want zip-ups that you can totally detach, so the pant basically splits in half, or you want one that comes all the way up. But you want to be able to put these on over your boots and crampons or whatever you have on, because if you stop or there's a storm, you want to be able to throw these on as quick as possible. So I didn't wear these a lot. I think I wore them twice. I wore them on Summit Day, and I wore them when we stopped at a break on Windy Corner. But you absolutely need these no matter what. All right, and then finally, I have the Mountain Hardwear Absolute Zero 8,000 meter down pants. It's the bib. So basically it's almost like a top as well because it goes super high up. I only wore these on summit day. When we got to Denali Pass at around 19,000, we were just getting blasted with wind and it was super cold. So that was the only day that my legs were cold and I threw these on. Going back though, I wish I would have stepped off at 17 with these, but I don't think you need to wear anything under them because they are so damn warm. So if you're rocking these, you probably shouldn't have anything on underneath them other than maybe just, you know, a simple base layer because they are super hot. So, but I did use them one day, so. Okay, covered that. Okay, now let's talk gloves. So I had taken 5 pairs of gloves. I only ended up using 4 pair. So I took, this is just a pair of Black Diamond jogging gloves. You're gonna wear these. I wore these all the way up to Camp 3 at 11,000. You just need something that you're not gonna get sunburnt in and has a little bit more friction for your trekking poles when you're pulling your sled. So that's what I wore. These are the Outdoor Research, what are these? These are the what are they? They are the, Extrovert gloves. I wore these pretty much the whole time. So I wore these almost every climbing day. I wore them every day past Camp 3, so above 11,000. And then anything that I was doing in camp at night, I would wear these. These were awesome. So a guy in our group summited Everest with these pair of gloves on. They're insulated. They're relatively waterproof. I had no issues with them. These are a great pair of gloves. Okay, these were my most heavy-duty set of gloves. These are the Black Diamond Guide gloves. A couple people that I talked to before I left for the trip actually told me that they did most of the trip in these, which I find pretty remarkable because these are so hot and I couldn't actually wear these most of the time because they were too hot. Also, they're just very cumbersome. If you're going up the fixed lines, these are not going to fit in your ascender. Or if they are, it's going to be so hard to maneuver your ascender. So I actually only wore these on summit day, which were great. These are super warm. These are a great summit glove. But yeah, I would just keep that in mind. They're cumbersome and they're super hot. But they're a great glove. Okay, and getting into mitts. So I have the Outdoor Research Alti. This is the Outdoor Research Alti mitt. So it is it's a two-stage mitt. It's got the shell, and then it's got the actual insert, insulated insert. So what I did was, I typically had it broken down like this most of the time, and I had the insert dug usually somewhere accessible in my pack, but not always at the top, if I absolutely needed to throw this on. But it's such a warm glove that I don't think you need this unless it's like probably summit. So what I did was, my strategy was when I was moving, I was typically moving in the Extrovert Outdoor Research gloves. And then if we stopped at a break and it was cold or windy, I would just have the shell at the top of my pack somewhere accessible. So that way we stopped at a break, I threw on a layer up top, and then I would throw the shell just over the gloves that I had on, and that was sufficient. Additionally, the only other day that I used these were on summit day. So summit day was super cold. At some point I started losing feeling in my hands, and I went and upgraded to these, and these pretty much like almost automatically warmed me back up. Also what I was doing on summit day, it got so cold, I was actually moving in the guide gloves, and I threw the shell of the Altis over the guide gloves. So that's just how you can use it, in terms of modularity of switching things in and out. But these are a great mitt, so happy I got them. Okay, let's talk tops. So my base layer that I moved in the entire time I was on the mountain, I basically never took this off. It's just a Black Diamond sun hoodie with a zip up, and then it's got a little pocket on the front here for like a phone or chapstick or something else. You're gonna wear. I wore this all the way to Camp 3 at 11,000, so it's gonna be pretty warm. It's gonna be cold, but as long as there's no wind, you can actually get away with this most of the time unless it's windy. But you just want something that you're not getting absolutely baked by the sun. Additionally, the hood is great because once again, you don't want the back of your neck to get burnt, but you also don't want something super hot on your head if it's not that cold out. So the hood on this is great. This is a great piece. So Black Diamond. So this is my base layer. I basically never took this off. And then I took 2 zip ups as like a level 2. You can only actually, you only need 1, but this kind of goes with Denali. Denali is not a trip where you're fighting for grams and ounces. You have a huge pack, and you're carrying a ginormous sled that could be up to 100 pounds. So I think fighting over like, you know, a quarter or a half a pound for a shirt or something like that is just not a big deal. You know, and for me personally, I went with two level twos. So this is a Patagonia waffle top, like zip up. And then I have an Under Armour one as well. So what I did was I wore this Under Armour one up to 14,000, and then it got gross and started smelling and whatever. And it was honestly just really, really, really nice to get to 14,000 and change into something new, you know, that just felt a little more clean. So that was me. But yeah, I would wear this. If it got cold, I would throw this over the sun hoodie. But you only need one of these if you're really fighting for space. Okay, my next layer. So this is a Patagonia waffle top. I actually don't think they make this guy anymore, but you know, maybe somebody else has something similar. But so this is actually a little lighter than some of the normal Patagonia waffle or puffers. But what I love about this one is the hood. As you can see, the hood is very form-fitting to the face, and then additionally it covers almost all of the face. So really your only area exposed is like the front of your face, which if you have glacier glasses on and a neck gaiter, almost your whole face is covered. Also, it's kind of stretchy, so it's just very form-fitting. I wore this all the time, and if it ever got cold on a movement, I would immediately upgrade to this. And usually if I was moving with a sun hoodie, one of these layers and this on, that was sufficient up until 14,000. And even on the fixed line, sometimes this was good enough. So definitely need a puffer. Okay, this is a Patagonia hard shell. So it's Gore-Tex. So you definitely need some type of hard shell Gore-Tex layer. So whenever it got windy, this is what I would throw on. So if it wasn't super, super hot, or if it wasn't super, super cold, I wouldn't throw the puffer on. I would just throw this on to negate the wind. But like I said, you know, this plus these three layers, that was usually sufficient unless it was an extremely cold and windy day. Okay, finally, so this is an outdoor research puffer. This is the Outdoor Research Helium. What I like about this is a more heavy-duty puffer. It's a lot thicker. It's also got reinforced shoulders at the top. It's not waterproof, but it's water resistant. So if it's snowing or raining or something like that, it's pretty good with not getting wet. My strategy was I kept this at the top of my pack at all times. If it ever got cold enough, which it did a couple times, when we went around Windy Corner, super cold, and I had to throw this on top of all of this. And then also on Summit Day, this was my outermost layer for most of the movement. So I was actually able, the entire trip, to never have to put on my 8,000 meter down parka, just because the modularity of what I had here between this puffer, you know, a hard shell, another puffer, a waffle top, and a sun hoodie, I could kind of mix and match and be relatively warm for the most part of the movement. So yeah, this worked out really well for me. And then yeah, lastly I have the Mountain Hardwear Absolute Zero 8,000 meter down parka, but like I said, I never had to actually wear it because it was never cold. I was warm enough. So, but you do want to carry this guy and the pants with you at all times. So what I had was I had a Sea to Summit. I think this is like just a 15 or 20 liter bag that I would stuff them in, you know, and vacuum seal it, you know, so it was super condensed, and they were just in the bottom of my pack. In the event that we ever got stuck in some super bad weather while moving, I at least had these on me that I could wear, and that way they pack down really well. So, you know, Sea to Summit bags work really well. Okay, let's see. All right, socks. So this is more getting into the boot topic a little bit, but so the socks that I had taken was, I have the Olympus Mons, the La Sportiva Olympus Mons. So they're a triple boot. They're obviously very hot since they're a triple boot. So I never had issues with my feet being cold other than Summit Day. And I knew that when we were moving at the lower glacier, it was going to be very hot. And the last thing I wanted was my feet to sweat a ton. So I purposely wore very light socks in the lower glacier. So these are the Injinji just toe liner socks. It was a great idea, but the issue is that the Olympus Mons are going to absolutely crush your feet and your ankles. So what happened was they were just chopping. The boots were chopping at my ankles and cutting my. I'll talk about that more when I get to the boot. But basically, I was having foot problems. I needed a thicker sock, so that way it gave me more padding, so I wasn't getting crushed as much. So I actually ditched these a day and a half in and stopped wearing them entirely. I think it's a good idea, but I just think if you're wearing the Olympus Mons, do not wear thin socks. You will get crushed. So what I did go to is I took 2 pairs of these. These are just the Darn Tough full cushion socks. These are absolutely amazing. They last forever. Also, Darn Tough will replace any socks I think that you ever buy. So I have bought socks that I used in Ranger School back in like 2016, and I turned them in or sent them in like 6-7 years later. They sent me brand new socks. So Darn Tough is awesome. But anyways, I switched to these. I wore 1 pair up to 14,000, so I wore them for 1 week, and then above 14,000, I just switched to a different pair. These work great. These provided me generally enough padding. Additionally, with taping my feet, that I didn't, for the most part, have as that many foot issues or anything that hamstrung me. So I took actually 2 pairs of these. I took, just in case, I took a pair of Darn Tough extreme cold weather socks. I expected to maybe use these on Summit if it was super cold, but the whole trip I never was cold. My feet were never cold in the boots, so I actually never wore these on Summit day just because I was warm enough, and I thought it would have been overkill if I would have wore these. Lastly, like I mentioned, you are going to get crushed on the way down. At least if you have the La Sportivas, at least everyone that I saw that had the La Sportivas had foot issues whenever we were descending, because you're probably not going to have the inside the first liner in, so your feet are going to shift around more. So I purposely had planned to have. So this is just these are more insulated Injinji toe socks, but they're they're longer and they're a lot more insulated and thicker. I wore these coming down after Summit, so I put these on at 17,000, and I wore these the entire way, all the way down to to base camp. Wearing these plus taping my feet up, I didn't have any foot issues on the descent, and a lot of people did. A lot of people had some big foot issues on the way down, so I would recommend, if you like toe socks or ever use them, or highly recommend them. If you never tried out the Injinji toe socks, they stop a lot of friction. So these are a great sock, and that's what I wore all the way down.